time machine, if we had a DeLorean, we'd love to see Dave Petromala guard Pat Spencer. Petro, though, has to come up with a game plan for number 7. He also has to figure out the offense, Quint.
In his 19th season, the challenge right here is emotionally. They got punched in the mouth by Towson last week. What kind of answer do they offer today? The strength of this Hopkins team, veteran defense. They got some question marks at the midfield.
Officials today: Brian Abbott, Peter Buchanan, Scott Rayburn, Bailey Savio to take the opening face-off for Loyola, Kyle Prouty for Johns Hopkins. Savio wins the face-off for Loyola, and the 80-second shot clock begins. Shot clock starts on possession this year. And Loyola gets its offensive personnel on the field. The first midfield: John Duffy, P.J. Brown, and the freshman Chase Scanlon. In goal for Hopkins, the sophomore out of Plano, Texas, the civil engineering major, Ryan Darby. And there is the first touch for Pat Spencer. Could not handle it clean, and he is hounded by Patrick Foley, the senior All-American. Foley with the knockaway. Spencer able to retrieve. Spencer flanked on offense by Kevin Lindley and Bobby Austin, getting the start for Aiden Olmstead, who's a little banged up. Spencer's shot is low. Rebound loose in front, and it comes to Matthew Hubler. Johns Hopkins lost its opener to Towson, blown out. Really, it was a second quarter blitz, 8-0 run by the Tigers that put the Blue Jays away. No Joel Tinney this year, no Shaq Stanwyck behind the cage. There's a need for leadership on this side of the field. With the shot clock, bigger emphasis on goalie play. Quint, Loyola's got one of the best in the country in Jacob Stover.
This is a guy with tons of experience. This is his 47th career game. He's led the Greyhounds to championship weekend. Got off to a fantastic start last week, 18 stops in that win against the Cavaliers. There's a lot of patience early in this game, Anish, from this Hopkins offense. Didn't like their possession time last week against Towson.
Here's Cole Williams, loves to get to the middle of the field. Now turns back. His pass is knocked down. Nice play there by Ryan McNulty, who Charlie Toomey, the Loyola head coach, says is an All-American in the waiting. And Hopkins turns it over on its first possession. Loyola a little sloppy in the middle of the field in the game against Virginia. 8 failed clears, 22 turnovers, but still they scored 17 goals, 1 going away.
You know what stands out, Anish? They scored 15 goals in the 6-on-6 half-field sets last week, 2 on extra man. A year ago, remember, they had 25 goals on the year from non-offensive personnel. They were kind of a run-and-gun type team. That wasn't the case last week. Their half-court sets were sharp.
P.J. Brown, the senior from Casanova in New York, against the short stick, picked up on the switch by Jack Rapine. It's an experienced Hopkins defense. All 3 close defensemen returning starters from a season ago. Bobby Austin feeding the cutting Brown. He has no idea where the ball is, loose in front. Brown off the scramble, fires wide, and a nice hustle by Darby gives the ball to Hopkins. New 80-second shot clock for the Blue Jays.
Bobby Austin, 36 in green, starting for Aiden Olmstead, a talented sophomore attacker. Olmstead is okay to play, dealing with a nagging injury.
One thing you'll see with Bobby Austin, he'll park on that left side, and Lindley is a lefty too, where Olmstead likes both hands too, a little more versatility, and with him out, that's a question for Loyola, because this attack, guys, last year, they really got comfortable towards the end of the season. Lindley and Olmstead were 2 freshmen playing with the magical Spencer.
2 possessions, meanwhile 2 turnovers for Hopkins, so the offense, which had trouble getting in sync last week, out of sorts early on. All right, we take you head-to-head.
Well, if you're going to stop and beat Loyola, you've got to deal with Pat Spencer, and that takes multiple plans. A plan A, B, C, and sometimes even D, E, and F.
Well, Quint, you could have X, Y, and Z. Stopping Spencer's like guarding Magic Johnson because of his versatility. Wow, he's getting whacked right now.
He's not going to leave this game without bruises to his shoulders and hips.
Spencer looking for the cutter.
Tell you, last
week, taken away.
Virginia was super passive with Spencer, allowing him to tip throw through the tulips, dancing through the middle, untouched. He will pay the price today. Dave Petromalo told us we're going to cross-check and hammer his hips.
If you look at Spencer's history against Hopkins, he's never scored multiple goals in any of his 3 games against the Blue Jays, but he does have 10 assists in the 3 contests.
It's a big butt, getting teammates involved, Anish, and that's why Spencer is so strong and well documented with his basketball background and his vision. So if you want to play him as a scorer, he'll feed all day and get teammates involved.
Second midfield on for Johns Hopkins, number 1 in white, Brett Baskin, along with Keogh, 24, and Tate Katoni, number 89. Joey Epstein, the freshman, on the quick stick, the slam dunk. And Hopkins is on the board first. Baskin off the feed from the number 1 recruit in the country.
Blue Jays bench bringing the juice today. Watch the hockey stop. The matchup's created. He's dodging against the shorty. The hockey stop, turn to his strong right hand, and then look backside. And Baskin puts up that visual target, and Epstein's pass is right on the money.
Joey Epstein, who had the assist, Dave Petromalo raved to us about his work ethic, the time he puts in during practice. A young man who committed to Johns Hopkins when he was 14 years old. Wears Shaq Stanwyck's old number 32 and was the top-rated player in the freshman class coming out of high school. Face-off violation on Prouty, and it will be Loyola ball.
Told me his favorite Hopkins players used to come to games all the time when he was a youngster. Chris Boland and Zach Palmer. Clark, didn't Boland wear 32 back in the day?
Boland did, yeah. Palmer, 45, the lefty Canadian. And, you know, I love what Epstein's going to bring to this offense because he's an ex-attackman who can dodge. And I think to get to a championship, you need that.
Chase Scanlon, the freshman, and that will count as a goal. The crease dive is back. And when you dive toward the goal, you have to dive away from the mouth of the goal. That goal will count. Scanlon, another good-looking freshman. We saw him in Israel over the summer for the Iroquois national team.
This is another story of a matchup. He draws Daniel Jones, dodges underneath the goal line extended. The Hopkins defense is spread out and indecisive with a double team. Scanlon, little acceleration, and he dodges with the tangent of the crease away from the goal mouth, Anish, and that's why that dive is legal.
Watch him, guys. Scanlon in Netanya, Israel, playing for the Iroquois, grew up that tournament, was the youngest guy in the blue division. From the midfield standpoint, he can dodge like an attackman and get underneath you and dodge from all different spots on that 6-on-6 offense. Not a traditional north-south dodger. And you watched the tape last week, he scored a similar goal against Virginia, getting underneath his defender and dodging like an attackman.
Charlie Toomey told me a couple of weeks ago he likes the ball in his stick. We're just trying to get him to understand we have Pat Spencer as well, and so we don't want him to carry it as much as he would like early on.
But he's going to get great matchups this season, as most teams will pull John Duffy.
Here's Cole Williams, the 6'5 junior. He might be the key to this Hopkins offense. Immensely talented. Consistency has always been the question.
Big question marks in terms of midfield initiators and dodgers with this group in white.
No Joel Tinney this year, who was so good at breaking down the defense, drawing slides. Alex Concannon from behind, and that's into the cross of Stover.
That was a ridiculous offside hip save. Stover really patient in matching up. Hopkins going to a heavy dose of invert.
Stover, the son of former NFL kicker Matt Stover, who played a long time for the Ravens. And a laser from the Duff man, John Duffy, out of Portland, Oregon, gives Loyola the lead.
John Duffy. Stretch the defense, young man. You have finishers like Lindley. Spencer can operate in tight quarters. And 5 in green, hammers this. And you mentioned the attack so much with Loyola. As the midfielders emerge, they will be a bear to deal with. You saw Scanlon dodging from underneath, and then Duffy with a hammer of a lefty rip.
The green light is on for the Greyhounds. Ryan Darby coming off a subpar performance against Towson. There's Duffy, wants to be a Navy SEAL. Met him years ago when we were out in Oregon for the ride. Lincoln High School. Picked up a lacrosse stick for the first time as a third grader. Had Peter Baum, guys like Tucker Dordovic coming from Oregon now. It's a growing hotbed.
He's the first Oregonian to play at Loyola. We're going to get a loose ball hold against Hopkins, so Loyola gets it back. Blue Jays have been a little sloppy offensively here in the first few minutes.
Talk about leadership for Loyola. Obviously Spencer, the maestro, the coordinator, the conductor. But a guy like Duffy leads in practice. When I was out watching them a couple Mondays ago, he's the first guy on the field taking extra reps. He's the last guy to leave, hitting the weight room after practice. There's a certain standard process, behavior that a senior like Duffy follows, and that becomes your culture.
Last year, a lot of the leadership for Loyola came from that defensive midfield. Seeing it more from the likes of Duffy, and also Pat Spencer has really grown as a leader, according to Charlie Toomey. This is Logan Devereaux, Jr. from Georgia, against Hubler the shorty. Spencer was setting the pick, and he frees up Devereaux, who had a couple of goals last year. That's his first tally of 2019.
Body language is essential for young goalkeepers. It's almost like being in a boxing match or a wrestling match. You can't show your opponent that you're hurting. And however much you struggle, you've got to bring positive body language. Off the two-man game, set your feet, put it offside, turn and rake.
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too, you know.
For the 100th year, Johns Hopkins had its annual pregame flag ceremony before the home opener. And Quint, you've been a part of this as a player. Explain to our viewers the significance of what's going on.
Well, each one of those gold stars stands for a former Hopkins lacrosse player that was killed in service of this country. And it goes back to World War I, World War II, Korea. I believe there's 11 stars on each of the goals. And so when people watch games here at home, they're always like, oh, what's the flag on the goal mean? Well, now you know. That is a memorial to former players killed in service of this great country.
A lot of history on this field and this stadium, and obviously with the Johns Hopkins program, a great crowd today. Battle for Charles Street. And so far, Loyola in control, 3-1 in the opening quarter.
And I can't tell you, after having stood in that crease with those stars behind me and then sometimes looking at them, how it's just a part of this program, and you just, it reeks of a tradition and heritage and excellence and pride and how far back. It's impossible to ignore.
Loyola 3 goals in the span of 2.5 minutes after Hopkins had the opening tally.
Look for Loyola to get into a two-man game with Spencer. That was the barking orders from Mark Van Arsdale, offensive coordinator. Spencer will be denied the ball. You'll see zone defenses. Petramala will throw everything at 7 in green.
Here's Kevin Lindley, 31 in green, the sophomore. And fellow sophomore Aiden Olmstead with the highest scoring freshman tandem a season ago. Up top, Duffy. Now Brown. Brown shot off the cage and backed up by Chase Scanlon, the freshman. 14 seconds left on the shot clock. Here comes Spencer. Behind the back, feed to Lindley.
Oh, yeah. Nation's top player has got some swag. You got to love the fact that Spencer is not rattled one bit by all the defensive looks of Johns Hopkins. And the flair for the dramatic, the creativity. What a beautiful pass. His top hand was actually pressured, so that is the perfect time to throw a behind the back. You have the pressure of the defender guarding him with his stick, and then the pressure of the slide in his face. You throw it behind your back. It's like you're turning lefty to make the pass.
Clock awareness there. You know, he handles that ball off the end line because he's going to handle all the dead balls. And then Lindley and Olmstead so in tune right now with getting to those money areas, whether it's the slot in front or the backside post, because they know that Spencer's man is on an island with him. And Spencer's just the defender covering Patrick is almost like he's not there.
Yeah, it's hard to defend 6'3", with the athleticism and the speed and the physicality that he has.
A lot of our fans are too young to remember Magic Johnson, but Pat Spencer to me is that type of point guard. He's the tall point guard who can shoot over you, he can pass over you. The man covering him is basically not even there.
Spencer found Devereaux for a good look.
Pat's eyes are on the defense. They're not on the guy covering him. They're on the double team. They're on the rotations of the D. He's king of the skip pass, and that was a great example.
Here comes Spencer against Rapine now. Probing from X, moves to goal line extended.
Eyes up. Prefers his right.
Posting up into a double team, shovels it off. And Spencer, the hockey assist as Loyola's offense humming in the 6-on-6.
That's a clinic.
He doesn't get credit for that in the box score. He should. Kevin Lindley, the finish.
You talk about triangle offense? Well, there it was on the lacrosse field. Post up left-handed. The spacing is gorgeous. Eyes are up. Tick, tack, toe.
You know what, gentlemen? I played with Casey Powell, one of the greatest of all time, and when he had the ball, you worked harder to get open because you knew he could make a play. That's what Pat Spencer has with this Loyola offense. Every single guy on the offensive set, when he has the ball, knows if they put themselves in a good spot, they'll get the rock.
Hopkins calls a timeout. Loyola up 5-1. Now, this is a Loyola team that reached the quarterfinals a season ago, losing to eventual champion Yale. They went to championship weekend during Pat Spencer's freshman season, lost in the semis to 2016 champion North Carolina. The strength of Charlie Toomey's teams at Loyola have often been predicated on the defensive midfield, the rope unit, the long poles. They're without their top short stick D-midi today, Matt Higgins. Their top two D-middies from last year graduated. Zach Davliakos, their top LSM from a season ago, graduated. They have McNulty. That unit is still a question mark, but boy, there is so much talent on offense.
Great coaching staff, okay, and a culture of winning. You got Charlie Toomey in his 14th season, Matt Dwan, Mark Van Arsdale, and Steve Vakenas. These are proven assistant coaches. Been there, done that. Quarterfinal loss to Yale last year. Yeah, some new faces on the defensive midfield. Maybe they can't run and gun as much, but this half-field offense, week 1, 15 6-on-6 goals against Virginia. Today, Kark, it's a clinic out there in terms of spacing, passing, understanding roles, whether it's Chase Scanlon taking advantage of a matchup, whether it's Spencer being the assister or triggering the O. There is a lot to like.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the chess match, Paul. We've seen Hopkins throw a few things at Spencer. How would you defend him?
Look, he's that good. I think you almost have to let Foley play him one-on-one and get beat dodging, because I think when you have all these different looks defensively, it could put a lot of stress from a thinking standpoint on the defense.
Naruski wins the face-off, and right off the face-off, it's Epstein who finds the back of the net. And if Johns Hopkins is going to be successful today, their coaches were telling us it's those kind of plays, beating Loyola in transition. They're going to have to make a few of them.
Offensive coordinator Bob Benson told us we want to get a quality shot within the first 20 seconds of the shot clock or then late in the shot clock. This is a great rip by Epstein. Watch this. His body language kind of signals he's going to yank it. Stover thinks it's going low, drops the head of the stick, and that ball finds Twine in the upper corner.
Look at Epstein, #1 player coming out of high school. Went to the Landon School, and he holds Landon's all-time record for goals, assists, and points.
We know a good guy from the Landon School. Matt Ward, one of our colleagues. Sure, he wasn't thrilled that all those records were shattered, but Epstein, this is good for Epstein. We saw a goal and an assist in the first quarter. He struggled a little bit last week against Towson, Quint.
Well,
tried to do too much.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. And what's impressed me so far is his change of direction at X. Obviously, he's heavily right-handed right now. But his ability to see through defenses is really advanced for a freshman player only playing in his second career game. He's going to be a great passer in terms of driving up right-handed, Kark, and then finding those lefties on the far side of the field.
Yeah, I agree. Because of his dodging ability, will open up so much of his feeding. And he's got the first step. And when we saw him at the Under Armour All-American game, too, he's very strong, seriously fit kid who spends a lot of time in the weight room, puts so much time and effort into his game. I think he's going to be a fantastic player for Coach Petro.
Just to draw attention to what happened there, if the ball goes over the midfield line, that would have been a turnover. With the new rules, you have 20 seconds to get it across the midfield line. In the first 20 seconds, you can go over and back. Once that shot clock hits 60, you've got to keep it on the offensive half of the field. Shot clock is down to 10. Now, what does Hopkins do here? Do they just kick it to the corner, or do they go? Epstein, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, got to shoot it. And that is a shot clock violation. It belongs to Loyola. Epstein looking for Marr, and if that combination works, you have the Epstein-Marr syndrome.
Kyle Marr, 41 goals last season in 2 games so far this year. He's been a little bit of a spectator, Paul. He's the guy whose role as a spot shooter, as a guy who can find bubbles off of ball movement for mid-range rips.
Spencer fires and scores. 6-2.
Mid-range rips, guys? Mid-range rips? Okay. You want a behind-the-back pass? Okay. You want to dodge? This guy has it all, man. It's unbelievable. I mean, he sets his feet. We know about Pat Spencer as a dodger. We know about Pat Spencer as a feeder. Quint, the one question we had coming into the season was his accuracy from a shooting standpoint, and he hammers that one home.
He's gone to work in terms of improving his shooting. Last year he shot only 28%. So far this season, man, he's been on the money. Take a look. There's his story. He played JV lacrosse as a high school sophomore. Late bloomer. Charlie Toomey spotted him right away, has seen his progress, knew that he was a star his freshman year, admitted to us that his scholarship has gone through the roof since that freshman year.
Loyola gives it right back, and then Rapine turns it over. And here comes Spencer off the quick restart. Now they'll have them bring it back. No quick restart. Spencer a goal and an assist. One more assist, and he would tie Joe Vasta of Air Force for 9th on the all-time list.
So this is a nightmare start for Dave Petromalo and Hopkins coming off that Towson win. They just hope to get out of the first quarter in a close competitive game and build some confidence. The opposite has happened.
A 6-goal first quarter blitz by Loyola.
Now they're in a zone.
P.J. Brown against Hubler. Duffy swings it around. And that one's stopped by Darby off the cross of Alex McGovern, who's had a couple of goals against Hopkins in each of the last 2 meetings.
They moved him to midfield. He's got a bunch of attack experience. He's played with Spencer and been a veteran for this team. And we were talking earlier too, guys. This Loyola offense, Quint, they have pieces. You got the passer in Spencer. You got the finisher and Lindley, the matchup problem with Scanlon, who can go underneath guys and dodge short sticks. We saw Duffy with a big outside shot. This is a 6-on-6 offense that's going to create a lot of problems for opposing coaches.
Less than a minute to go in the first quarter, 6-2. Hopkins, 5 turnovers in the first quarter. Here's Cole Williams. That bouncer way too high. They want Williams' potential energy to become kinetic permanently. Had 5 goals last year against Maryland, but hadn't scored in the previous 3 games, and they just want the consistency. Final 35 seconds. Kincannon has his man hung up. Shot clock at 10. Now at 8. Kincannon around X. Snakes around and shoots wide. Only 4 seconds to go on the shot clock. 19.6 on the game clock. Epstein puts one on goal, and that's a huge end of the quarter goal for Johns Hopkins.
Charlie Toomey sensed that the Hopkins attack, Joey Epstein had a running start off the end line. And if we rewind this and you watch this entire restart, picks it up, continues to run onto the field with a head of momentum, beats Stover down low. He's played a great first quarter. Joey Epstein, the #1 recruit in the country.
Wow. Super impressed with Epstein grabbing the bull by the horns with this offense. Only a freshman, and he is growing up in his first game at Homewood Field.
He's going to have to for this Hopkins offense. Again, no Shaq Stanwyck, no Joel Tinney to break down defense and to probe. Maruski's giving Hopkins a little spark at the X. Final seconds of this quarter. The ball rolls out of bounds. Loyola with a 6 spot in the opening quarter. A couple of goals by Epstein, including one late, makes it a 3-goal game after 1. Dave Petramala got in the chair with Paul Carcaterra. The Barbershop. A sneak peek at Petro relaxing with.
You're watching Old Spice College Lacrosse. Pat Spencer, well, his game has it all. He's a scorer with size, point guard vision. Yesterday, I spent some time with Hopkins coach Dave Petramala, gave him a nice trim, and talked some Pat Spencer.
Relaxing with Peacock this year will have a different feel. A lot of haircuts, and Petro's got a fresh haircut. But Kark, I want to know, did National Car Rental watch some of your relaxing with Peacock videos from the past and say, we're not going to rent you cars anymore, so that's why you went to the barbershop?
Well, for a guy who drives with 2 feet, I think you need to zip your lip.
I was waiting for it.
Petro looked sharp today. Even Coach Dwan got in the action.
Yeah, gave him a nice trim as well. These guys.
What about Cole Williams?
Studs. Cole Williams was in the locker room yesterday, and he stayed for the entire Petro haircut. And I was kind of licking my chops to get after his mane, but his hair is like an 80s rock star. He did tell me, though, that his senior year he'd let me get at it.
With a hairdryer?
Connor DeSimone from the alley, behind the cage. Here's Marr. Ooh, way too high off the netting. Marr was Hopkins' top goal scorer a season ago, had 5 in the fourth quarter in the first round to comeback win against Georgetown. Alex Kincannon, lone senior offensive midi for Hopkins this year. Tamar, and a save by Stover. Stover had 18 saves against Virginia, had 19 in the quarterfinals last year against Yale. Marr's stick is broken. Darby, the save, Spencer behind the back, and it's wide. That play developed in slow motion near the cage, and it's Hopkins' ball.
Loyola's always been a dangerous transition team. And if Stover continues to make clean stops, McNulty's going to be his target as a run-out guy. Big, number 55 in green, and he's one of the most underrated long sticks in the country, Ryan McNulty, triggering that fast break.
You say clean saves. If you make a save and there's a rebound, and the team that shot it gets it back, that's a new 80-second clock.
It's a huge. I'm against that rule, Anish. I think it should be a 60-second reset, because 80 is a ton of time. So catching the ball as a goalie, controlling your rebounds, really strong emphasis.
Williams will dodge from up top against Volant. This is Baskin. Hounded by Alex Johnson. Now Marr. Marr, the lefty, shooting wide.
Stover's going to get tested this year, Nice, because this Loyola defense, I think they're good. They don't have a true number one guy. They kind of lost last year with Foster Huggins and Ryder Hopkins. Cam Wires is a very talented freshman, number 20 on the ball right here, big number 20 from Canada. And a new defensive midfielder. So Stover will get tested.
Williams against McNulty. Now they'll play it back to X. That one intercepted. Picked off by Cole Boland, the junior out of Colorado. And he's part of that young, inexperienced defensive midfield. He's a junior, but he played his first meaningful game last week against Virginia.
Yeah. No Matt Higgins today. We'll see Razanka, Dennis. Cause turnovers, really the name of the game for Loyola's defense. A year ago, number 2 in the country in that department. Great on double teams, and they sniff out those passing lanes.
We have yet to see Aiden Olmstead. We were told he would likely see the field today. Did not start because of an injury. Bobby Austin got the start at attack. Loyola has a 3-goal lead, and now the ball in the cross of Pat Spencer. Scanlon, like he was going to set the pick. Now it's Spencer against Foley. All-American against All-American. Spencer's so smooth, even under pressure. Skips one to Scanlon. And with that assist, Pat Spencer moves into a tie for 9th on the all-time list. Scanlon second. Number 7 in the half field through the first game and a half has been unstoppable.
Spencer's looking at this defense like he's up 50 feet from a drone, looking at the chips down below him, saying, okay, this guy goes here, this guy goes here. Watch this pass from wing to wing, right through the defense, right there. Boom, right on the stick head. Scanlon thought about dodging underneath, pulls up for a mid-range shot. Spencer's unstoppable. The combination of dodging, feeding, IQ, size, and experience is something we haven't seen.
We're going to have to find new ways to say Spencer is unstoppable. That is going to be a rinse and repeat line throughout the course of this season.
Add risk-taking, too. I mean, that is a gutsy pass. Farthest away from the ball typically is where the softest defense is, but it's the hardest pass to make because you got to get it through 5 sticks.
Timeout by Johns Hopkins, 7-3. Spencer's out of hand in 3 of Loyola's 7 goals. When we come back, we'll bring in former Hopkins midi Mark Dixon, who's our rules expert today. Dixie to shed some light on the new rule. A 4-goal lead for Loyola after another assist by Pat Spencer. We bring in Mark Dixon, our good friend, our colleague, our rules expert. You also work as an official, and big new rules this year, smaller substitution box. The crease dive is back, and the 80-second shot clock with 20 seconds to clear. So far from what you've seen, what's been the biggest impact with the shot clock?
Biggest impact with the shot clock, I think, is just the fluidity of the game and the flow of the game. It seems to be a little freer, a little crisper, a lot less substitutions. And then also from a referee's perspective, you're not thinking as much. If a guy gets a defender hung up, when am I going to put the shot clock on? If a defense comes out in a zone, we're not communicating saying, when are we going to put a shot clock on? And the other one is, we don't have to mess with the beeper, the timer for the clear and get it in the box. So we can watch the game more as officials and be more engaged and invested in the game.
Yeah, you're focused on officiating and not tempo of the game.
Absolutely. The only thing that we need to watch all the time is the actual shot clock in case there are any mistakes or mishaps with the shot clock operator, which you will have with the new rule being so green.
New dive rule, Mark, where diving is now legal if the offensive player stays out of the quote-unquote goal mouth. What's important for fans at home to know about the dive?
If a player is diving away from the goal, if they're diving away from the goal and they score and then land in the crease, that is a good goal. The whole intention is to have divers go away from the goal, stay away from that goal mouth, which you described, and therefore when you don't dive toward the goal or toward the goal mouth, putting the goalie in jeopardy for an injury. Now, there's a lot of nuances to that. We've seen it when goalies come out and initiate contact. They basically give themselves up, and they are now privy to getting an interference call because you can't make contact with the goaltender in the cylinder. However, they will not get a penalty. The diver will not get a penalty for that contact initiated by the keeper.
Shot clock reset as that one hit the pipe off the cross from Epstein. Williams skips it to DeSimone, and that was tipped. It'll still belong to Hopkins, 60 on the shot clock. Quint and I were having this debate. Quint's a former goalie. As a goalie, in many ways, with the crease dive rule, you're incentivized, if you're in the crease, to make a little contact, because at the minimum that could result in an interference call. As Hopkins scores, it's Kyle Marr, his first of the game, to make it 7-4.
Big goal for Kyle Marr. We saw him in the first quarter, struggling to find that shot. You know, the lefty sniper was the leading scorer for the Blue Jays a season ago, and he loves that 10-yard rip. But now he just finds the seam, and Loyola kind of ball watching here. You see all the green shirts and turn their head on Kyle Marr. When you're a crafty senior who's played so much lacrosse, his father, Scott Marr, taught him the game at a young age. He's the head coach at Albany. You're going to be crafty, and you're going to find ways to get your shot, even if it's your secondary kind of look, because he's a lefty gunslinger.
Uncle Dave was the all-time leader in assists, still is, at Johns Hopkins. Naruski, the freshman, has now won 7 straight face-offs for Hopkins. And here comes Marr from the wing. Mark Dixon's going to hang out with us for a little while in case we have any rule clarifications. Stover gobbles that up. Loyola sets up, it's clear. So 20 seconds now to get it across the midline.
20 seconds to get it across the midline. Now, with the shot clock reading 70, if McNulty were to get into trouble, he can throw that ball back over the midfield line. So it's not a true backcourt as in basketball when you cross the timeline. However, the ball has to be back in the offensive zone by the time the shot clock hits 60.
So now you're at 55. Now you can't go back over the midline. If it does, that's over and back.
Over and back is in full effect right now. And the old rules still apply. If the defense brings it over into their offensive half, the offensive team still has a chance to pick the ball up, and whatever's remaining on the shot clock is what they have to work with.
Duffy over to Devereaux.
Dixie's a rules ninja, man. This guy, nothing you can slide by this cat.
You can't slide much by number 7, Pat Spencer. That's his second. He puts his arms out as if to say, are you not entertained?
He broke some ankles and got an ooh and an ah from the far side crowd. How about this showing from the Loyola student body on the far side? Packin University Parkway. Watch Spencer make somebody look silly here. Just a little cut. Whoop. Boom. Place goes nuts, and he has played to the bench this year. He's played to the crowd. I really think he understands the impact that he has emotionally on his team.
He looked like Maximus after that goal.
Wow. You know, I spent some time with Pat Spencer in the fall, and we went into the gym at Loyola. And he told me he watches a lot of James Harden. And when you watch him kind of just post up there, and Harden with a little fadeaway and a little jab step and then back step, okay, my shot has improved this offseason, college lacrosse.
Yeah.
Beware.
You know, we saw this early in his career too, but there's a grandmaster in chess. Almost, it's like Kasparov reading a chessboard. He feels like he's 5 to 10 seconds, a move or two ahead of everybody else. This is Cam Wires, the freshman from Canada. And Loyola back to work. They have been surgical in the half field. McGovern against Rapine. McGovern began his career at North Carolina, was on that championship team in 2016. A team that beat Loyola in the semis. Now P.J. Brown, senior from Cazenovia, New York, just outside of Syracuse. Checked by the short stick, Matt Hubler. Owen Colwell comes over to help. And now Colwell picks up Brown on the switch.
Spencer being shut off, but Loyola's got a lot of ways to incorporate him. Here you see him setting a pick for the ball carrier.
There's Scanlon. He's got a couple of goals today. Duffy. Tough angle. McGovern there to back up. Shot clock reads 15.
Now Spencer hustles to trigger this restart. He's going to handle all dead balls off the end line or the sideline.
Spencer, a little gamble, changes direction. Shot clock at 7. Spencer against Foley. Spencer had a shot altered, and it's going to be Johns Hopkins ball. What have you seen, Dixie, so far late in the shot clock in terms of what teams are doing, what offenses are doing?
They're doing just what Spencer did. They're attacking the cage, but a lot of teams, when they recognize they don't have a good offensive opportunity, they're rolling it to the corner. They're better at just rolling it to the corner, setting up their ride, and trying to get it back than forcing it. There, Spencer got a good shot opportunity off. You notice it was deflected off a defender. That is not part of the criteria that resets the shot clock. If they're looking for a shot clock reset there, it would have had to have hit the goaltender and been a rebound and a corral, or hit a pipe, and Loyola gets it back for a shot clock reset.
Kark, if you're the defensive team late in the shot clock, do you fall back into a zone? Do you pressure? What would be your MO?
I think it all depends where the ball is, too, and if you can get into a zone. I mean, the worst thing would be trying to rush into a zone and you can't get settled.
Here's Catoni. Had a good look there, just couldn't get enough on it. Tate Catoni, the freshman, older brother Holden, was a standout at Hopkins, a former All-American.
To build on Kark's point, defenses were thought to slip into zones late. You haven't seen that a whole lot. Defenses are staying true to their identity.
Another save by Jacob Stover. That one coming off the cross of Evanson, the freshman.
They're keeping their identity. They're staying in their form. They will come out of timeouts in zone. We're seeing that a lot more. And again, as a referee, you're not asking each other, when are we going to go ahead and put the shot clock on?
Wow, this is an issue right here. These referees got to hustle over. You got to hustle over. You better get there, Zebras. This could get ugly.
Both teams congregating at midfield, and the officials trying to break this up. Battle for Charles Street, rivalry game, another flag in the air.
That one's going to go against Spencer and Ish for talking. But these officials, when a guy has his head taken off at the midfield in a inner city rivalry, you got to know this is a moment. This is a potential spark. Get in there and separate the teams.
Yeah, that's a great point you make, Quint. This is a veteran crew out here, as Brian Abbott's going to adjudicate the fouls momentarily. Refs are talking it over. It has a lot to do with the feeling of the game. Up until now, there haven't been any issues whatsoever. So maybe, as Peter Buchanan was over there in the middle of that scrum, maybe there was a feeling that this isn't going to escalate. But when you see when you see the rest of the team, attackmen crossing midfield, you're right, Quint. You got to get in there just for sheer backup.
Loyola player lost his helmet. It was bad enough that Spencer felt that he had to run upfield and be a leader and support his teammate.
Unnecessary roughness, 1 minute. The second one is 3-2 white, unsportsmanlike conduct. 7 green, unsportsmanlike conduct. It'll be green ball.
So as an official, you get the first one, and that's the right call, and that was called by the trail official. And he saw it. That's his job. Now here you're just saying, guys, walk away, separate, walk away, don't say anything. And then obviously somebody had something extra to add. As an official, when you're backing them up and you're just trying to get them separated, you're like, guys, don't do anything crazy. Let's relax. Don't do anything stupid. And then once you hear a taunt, maybe the F-bomb, anything that's out of decorum, that's when you're going to get that second flag.
Kark, that's your boy Joey Epstein taking the weight room out there and delivering a big-time shot.
Look, man, we saw him in the summer. He's pretty jacked for a young freshman attackman. I mean, you look at him with street clothes on, you don't think, but when you see him in a training shirt and coming off the practice field, he's got some Popeye muscles.
It looked like it was Kyle Marr that delivered the high hit. Well, they said 32, which was Epstein, who was in the area, but it was clearly Marr who made contact above the shoulders.
He's a hockey kid growing up, played a ton. Knows some physicality. Yeah, that's 13 in white for sure. Epstein right there next to him. There was some jawing afterwards too, guys, when Pat Spencer walked to the bench. And
So 5-on-4 now for Loyola. Epstein and Marr in the box. Spencer out for Loyola. Skip pass is knocked down. Off the scramble, Scanlon can't handle it. What's the significance, Dixie, of the shot clock during penalty situations?
So really, that's a situation where the shot clock will never turn off. In other words, a goal is scored, we're at the end of a quarter, there's only 20 seconds left in the quarter. The shot clock doesn't turn off like it turns off in basketball, because just in case there's a foul, and let's say the game clock stops with 5 seconds left in the quarter, the foul is administered, and the offensive team holds the ball. That means they'll have 75 seconds remaining on their shot clock coming out of the end of quarter. No face-off because of flag down and the EMO denotes possession. They'll have 75 seconds to shoot. So that's when the shot clock comes into play. And it's never turned off like it is in basketball. We hear all the time, shot clock is off because you don't have any foul situations like you do in lacrosse. I don't remember Hopkins being called for 2 fouls.
I guess they got Epstein and Marr, and they went from being 4-on-5 for Hopkins to now 5-on-6 for Hopkins. This is Connor DeSimone, one of the top middies in the country coming out of high school last year. Stover knocks this one away, trying to cover it up. Loose ball comes to Volant. 8 for Loyola, 4 minutes to go. Spencer back in there. 15 seconds left on the Hopkins man down. And now another penalty. And when the flag comes down, the shot clock won't reset, only after the penalty has been adjudicated.
Exactly. So a foul happens, then we got a second foul. Shot clock will continue to run. The only time in this situation the shot clock would reset, if we didn't have flags on the field, would be a play on. A loose ball push, a loose ball hold. The shot clock would then be reset after that technical loose ball violation.
Here comes P.J. Brown. 2 flags, almost a third one. Here it is, now a third one. Shot clock at 30, still plenty of time for Loyola. Scanlon posting up. Scanlon. And now we'll get the whistle. It's getting chippy.
Really is. And you're seeing the 3 flags after an altercation like we just had, where both teams were flagged and you got to calm teams down. The referees, when they came together, not only figured out what they were going to call, but they also said, okay, guys, we're going to call this one a lot tighter than we have from here on out, because we've had an incident and we want to keep these guys in control.
Hopefully they'll get their numbers right this time.
Let me report these back up out of there and let me go with this. Back up over there, coach. Keep backing up and I'll get with you. Okay, so we had number 3, cross check to the head, 1 minute. Number 3, cross check, 1 minute. And we got 24, too many men, technical foul, 30 seconds. Too many men, technical foul, 30 seconds. Okay, listen.
I want to know why we served 3 minutes.
Are we down 2 right now?
Well, we do 30 seconds, guys. But 3 minutes, we can't go unless he releases us. God, don't go anywhere. We can't release unless he releases.
the Hopkins coaches are livid because of the last man down. They felt like they served 3 minutes of penalties when it really should have only been 2 minutes.
It was a 2
So
minute.
that's what they're livid about.
Yeah.
And Dixie, this brings up a question. We have 3 officials working this game, but no box official for a game of regular season of this level.
Yeah. The only
Does a
time
game like this need a box official?
I think the game is to the point where you need 4 refs on the field, period, because there's so much going on. You don't have the luxury of replay, but when you do have a CBO, a chief bench official, their only function is timing issues. They can't call anything that happens on the field. So it was a 2-minute non-releasable against Epstein. Instead, they gave him a 3-minute. Keogh thought that he was the man coming in, thinking the penalty had expired. He came in, And that was what the last foul was, the illegal procedure.
6-on-4. Scanlon hits the side of the net. It was going to be 6-on-4 for the first 30 seconds. Now Hopkins can burn some clock.
That was a bad shot by a freshman. That's where Pat Spencer, 7 and green's got to handle.
Brunson can't handle it.
Dixie, to clean this up as well, Epstein's penalty was so long, they brought a guy on earlier than the clock had accounted for from a penalty standpoint. So that Epstein should have been on the field earlier. That extra man that they got nailed for never should have happened.
Absolutely. And now offsides against Johns Hopkins, so Loyola's going to get it right back. 2.5 to go here in this first half.
Wouldn't be a bad time for Charlie Toomey to call timeout.
And he does just that. Nine turnovers today for Johns Hopkins. 8-4 Loyola. The Greyhounds scored 6 in the opening quarter. Still February. We can feel the cold of Baltimore in the air. Hopefully the weather warms up in March. And now looking at some of the early March games, Virginia going to Syracuse. Boy, Hopkins right now in danger of falling to 0-2. Syracuse had that loss to Colgate. They've got Albany today. Imagine a week from now, we could have Syracuse and Hopkins out of the top 20. How crazy is that?
You think about it, a week. When did a week exist where Virginia, Syracuse, and Johns Hopkins, all 3 named programs, lost? Cavs bounced back yesterday against Lehigh. They play High Point on Monday.
Which is not a gimme.
Loyola's game on March 7th. That's a Thursday night game. And next week, Anish, there's some killer matchups as well. Penn State is traveling up to Yale. This Loyola team goes to a very talented matchup of 2 teams with.
Starting to see a little bit of a new world order in college lacrosse. Syracuse and Hopkins hanging on to stay in the top 20. Yale, your defending champion at number 1. Right now, though, Yale in a dogfight with Villanova. Last check, they were down late to the Wildcats. Apparently, Yale and Nova tied at 10 late. Loyola with a Yale loss and a win today would have a chance to move up to number 1. Cornell led by Jeff Teat. Towson moved all the way up to 7. You've got Rutgers in the top 10.
Rutgers lost to Army earlier by a goal.
And that was the loss, I think, last year that kept Rutgers out of the postseason.
I'd agree.
By the way, Army's got Syracuse coming up next week.
Yeah. Syracuse-Albany later this afternoon in the Carrier Dome.
It's a new world order in college lacrosse, and for both the teams we're seeing today, boy, there's an early season gauntlet for Loyola. This is the first of 3 straight road games. Hopkins, then Rutgers, then Towson. You can make the case this is the easiest of the 3 for Loyola. Meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, they go to Carolina next week, then at Princeton and Michael Sowers, and then go up to the Carrier Dome to play rival Syracuse. Too high, P.J. Brown.
So, Anish, just like that timeout, the teams refreshed, recalibrated, the officials came together, and that's when you have to say, okay, guys, let's clean up our game as well.
Spencer slides inside. A flag is down. Spencer dove into the crease. The goal is good. So that's going to be a goal for Pat Spencer and a push against Hopkins.
Looks like that is it might be a cross check. I'm just looking for the motion of the officials. I don't know if it was push or cross check. We'll get an idea right here.
Well, this goal could be a case study for a legal dive. And Mark, when you take us through, you see he dives kind of tangent to the crease line, away from, quote-unquote, the goal mouth. Now, what the goal mouth looks like is an ice cream cone.
Right.
If the goal where the cone, the goal mouth is actually the ice cream portion of it, and he stays away from that area that could endanger the goalie.
He dove away, and we had a call for the NILOA group, National Intercollegiate Lacrosse Officials Association, last week, and we used a case example from Duke. I'm sorry, it was Utah, Vermont, and it was a good Vermont goal, very similar dive to Pat Spencer. And the wording that we used, or our leadership used, was not parallel with the goal line or the goal mouth, meaning he's going away from the goal mouth. So that was a perfect dive by Pat Spencer.
I've gotten the sense the way that rule has been called, as Kuhn fires too high on a bounce, if it's close, you're going to see the penalty called.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. It's a protection and safety of the players remains paramount. And like we've seen with the big hits or the 50-50 hits over the last couple years, always err on the side of caution.
It is 9 for Loyola. Spencer, 3 goals, 2 assists, plus a hockey assist.
Think about the variety that Pat Spencer has showcased.
Epstein's had a hand in 3 of the 4 Hopkins goals, and DeSimone is wide.
Whether it's his dodging from behind the goal, from the wing, we saw him score with an outside shot, we saw behind the back. It's been a little of everything. It's really amazing how deep his arsenal of offensive tools.
Kincannon slips, flag coming against Loyola, and here it is. 58.1 seconds to go in the half.
And it's kind of unwritten. And that was an obvious foul. But after the litany of fouls that were called against Johns Hopkins as an official, you're like, okay, I just called 4 in a row. I just called 4 in a row on white. I'm looking at green. You know, give me a reason to throw a flag green.
See, I don't think that should be the case. I think if there's a reason for a flag, you throw it.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying
you're taking us into the psychology
of officiating. And it's got to be there. It's got to be there, but something that might be 50-50, and you might not throw a flag in a normal situation, you're probably taking the other side of the 50.
That wasn't 50-50.
No, that's not.
No, that was an easy one.
Yeah,
First man up chance for Hopkins. DeSimone off the mark.
See Loyola shutting off Epstein behind the goal, playing this 4 defenders in a box against 5 Hopkins shooters.
Now let's see if anybody else can beat this defense. Luke Schilling, number 12 in there. His dad, a volunteer coach at Towson. Kyle Marr staying low, and Hopkins cashes in on the man up.
Stover's yapping to his defense, and I would be too, because you're shutting off the talented freshman feeder. Who's the remaining shooters out there? You got Cole Williams, 14, but the guy who stands out is Kyle Marr. And when you foul these Jays, the band will play, especially if Mark can set his feet, because he just snipes this corner. I mean, that's a thing of beauty, Clark. He put that ball right off the sidebar.
I love it because of the multiple release points. We saw him earlier in this quarter have a similar look, and he went low to high. So then you get the goalie guessing a little bit. That time, low to low, and that's vintage Kyle Marr. Stings it in that bottom corner.
Hopkins +3 at the faceoff X. Naruski's done a nice job in just his second collegiate game. Here's Hubler. Over to Marr. He's feeling low to high. Hello.
Wow. Okay. Hey, Stover, you like that last one in the bottom corner, okay? Now I'm going to get you guessing. And this is what great shooters do. He went low to low with a low release point. Hubler wins the break, and again, Marr is in his vintage spot to pound it in the top corner, and that time changed the complete complexity of that trajectory of the shot there, Quint. That puts a goalie in a tough spot.
It's a 3-goal game now. He changed the complexion of this game in 10 seconds. It seemed 10 seconds ago Loyola was on the verge of running away with this one, and 2 late goals here at the end of the first half. A chance for a third now. Hubler, he's got Marr. Marr almost had his third. That would have been his third in an eye blink as we go to halftime.
Detonation. Don't expect Kyle Marr to get those easy looks off of face-off wins where he could just crank right on top of Stover. They're going to put a defensive player deeper in the box area to kind of eliminate those breaks. They're struggling on face-offs, but he's also thrilled with his superstar, Pat Spencer, and the ability to kind of adjust on the fly when Hopkins is throwing all different defensive looks at number 7. He just adjusts and makes those plays with the IQ of a coach out there, guys.
Bailey Savio to win the faceoff for Loyola. Matt Naruski, the freshman, did not start at faceoff for Hopkins. Came in for Kyle Prouty, 10 out of 12 in that first half. He gave this Blue Jay offense a spark. He got them the ball, something they didn't have against Towson and Alex Woodall.
Hopkins won 6 of the last 7 draws. And 2 weaknesses in Loyola's game in my eyes so far. Face-offs and then just the structure of their settled defense.
Scanlon against Danny Jones. Hopkins top shorty. Now Duffy hits the crossbar. Ricochets into the air. And that will reset the shot clock. Loyola ball.
Park, that's great offense right there.
Oh,
because Scanlon scored on that same move earlier.
Yeah.
There you see, well, I'm going to change it up. He rolls away from pressure and throws it through the D.
Threads the needle. He finds Kevin Lindley for his third. 8 goals already on the young season for the sophomore from Darien, Connecticut.
So you put all your effort into stopping Pat Spencer, and Chase Scanlon from the midfield becomes the trigger man. He becomes the passer. First it was Duffy just ringing one off the post and out onto Charles Street. And then here the restart. He likes the matchup, but he just puts it on the stick of the cutter. It's too easy.
Lindley had 100 goals in a season at Darien. His mother, Elisa, is the women's lacrosse coach up at Darien. Comes from a lacrosse family, and his finishing ability is on cue. And I'll tell you what, when you have outside shooters like Duffy who can stretch a defense, and you got the inside look with Lindley and Olmstead, I mean, 6-on-6, this team is a nightmare to deal with.
Hopkins, when they've had some success, Kark, it's been off of faceoffs. It's been off of scrambles.
It has, and you need some midfield dodgers for the Blue Jays too. Epstein had a nice first half, the freshman from behind with the ball now, but who are the guys up top that are going to make some plays and allow the defense to slide, or force that defense to slide and keep them honest, because you can't just attack from behind.
Epstein had the shorty on a switch, and that's going to belong to Loyola. Terrific hustle toward the end line. Peter Swindell, the junior, laying out. He's going to see some time as a two-way midi for Loyola this season. Swindell, 13 in green. Played with Michael Krause, the Virginia star in high school. Grandfather played lax at Virginia. And remember, Loyola today, we have not seen Aiden Olmstead, one of their starting attackmen. He has not played today. We thought we would see him. He didn't start, battling a bit of an injury bug. P.J. Brown from the wing. Duffy plays it over to Scanlon. Scanlon, nice move, gets free! Chase Scanlon, another goal. That's his third. And Loyola with a couple of quick ones out of the gate.
Hey, Q, do you remember you said that Chase Scanlon will do some work? Having a pole on him is not really the option for opposing defenses. Well, I think that's going to change, because this kid is an absolute stud. Only a freshman, Chase Scanlon. International experience with Team Iroquois. Shredding corners as a freshman.
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too, you know.
Anish Shroff, Quint Kasnick, Paul Carcaterra. That is Jay, the new look Johns Hopkins. I'm sorry, that is the old Johns Hopkins mascot. There's Jay, the new look Johns Hopkins mascot. A leaner physique, Quint.
I like
enhanced eyesight,
He's
refined
cute.
beak without teeth, and accurate color.
I think I like his smile better. He's just cute. I could see your daughter just giving him a big hug.
Very lovable.
Hey, I'm going to throw the challenge out. We got to see more live mascots and more cartoon mascots at our game this spring.
Agreed.
Otto, I'm calling you out, buddy.
Otto. Whoa.
Handsome Dan, he's rates #1 right now.
I'll tell you what, if Albany takes it to Syracuse again this year, Otto might as well stay in hiding.
I had a chance to play some lacrosse yesterday with Jay, the mascot. He's got better stick skills than Anish. That's a start. And I'll tell you, you want Otto? Q, you got that Q's hat now, don't you?
I do. It's in my closet at home.
It's all right, Q. I got a few Hopkins hats.
Cherished item.
Duffy.
Coach Dino.
There's Spencer. Flips it behind the back, behind the cage.
That caught me so off guard. Do you think he knew that where I played and went to college was the main rival was Syracuse, or you think he was putting that on the reporter regardless of who he was?
We're getting a 30-second technical foul. What Q is referring to was, what was the name of the bowl game that you covered?
Orlando.
Camping World.
Camping World Bowl.
Why do I know your schedule?
At the end of the Camping World Bowl, you're doing the post-game trophy presentation.
So this was on air right at the end of the game.
On air.
He just he's putting on a T-shirt that says, Camping World Bowl champs, and the hat was for him, but he goes, this will look good on you.
That was Dino Babers, the Syracuse head football coach.
Puts out an orange hat on my head, like
how did that
break
play?
Out in hives.
How did that play with your Hopkins buddies?
Guys,
in my mind, I'm saying to myself, oh my God, I cannot wear this hat. This is not going to go over well. I'm like, and I turned to him and say, Coach, I can't wear this hat. He goes, oh, it looks good on you. You think he knew?
I would have loved to see your text messages that night.
I know why he knew, guys. I'll tell you after this man up.
I think it was a little SID.
Duffy! Loyola 3 straight coming out of halftime. And they've doubled up Hopkins 12-6.
Quint, you saw Duffy take some extra reps, right? Before and after practice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, guess what? It's paying off. Wow. Duffy is a stretch shooting midfielder from the state of Oregon. Played his youth and high school ball out west. And I'll tell you what, north-south sniping, it's been his calling card this afternoon. And he is adding a big dimension to this Loyola offense because they're so good in the 6-on-6 set with Spencer as the playmaker and the passer, looking inside for Lindley. Now you have that stretch shooter. Ouch.
I got an equation for you. Casey Powell is to Paul Carcaterra as Pat Spencer is to John Duffy.
Well, you know how I knew Babers knew?
That's an analogy, not an equation.
Yeah. You know how I knew Babers knew? Babers knew you because when you walked down Trophy Row in Syracuse, he recognized you from a video that plays all the time when Paul Gate threw that behind the back to Greg Burns.
Man, the hits
That's
keep coming.
Kesenick. I remember that guy.
The hits keep coming for Q.
No, Kark, I'm talking about Duffy. I'm changing the subject.
Okay.
Talking about Duffy's ability as an outside spot shooter to capitalize on Pat Spencer's vision, his eyes, and lanes, and that the defense is geared to stop at number 7 in green.
You're 100% right. When I played with Powell, and there's some similarities here, the whole defense, the 5 other guys who weren't responsible for guarding Powell, their heads were always watching him.
Oh, Spencer, almost a Sports Center top 10. He makes it look so easy. New shot clock for Loyola.
It hit iron.
Brown. He's fun to watch. 7 in green.
Left side of your screen, the U view. Spencer, volunteer coach at his high school, boys Latin school, right up the road. Basketball, that is, not lacrosse. He was coaching last night. His younger brother Cam, an outstanding player who's signed, sealed, and delivered to attend Loyola and play hoops.
Spencer has toyed with the idea of playing basketball at the Division I level next year. Scanlon, I don't know what that was, 49 seconds to shoot. Lindley is there for the backup. We've seen the evolution of Lindley, Olmstead as well. Both just finishers. Olmstead able to carry, take the load off of Spencer, although he has not played today.
Olmstead's a tough kid, man. He takes that ball to the dark and dirty areas of a defense. Willing to pay the price.
Spencer and Foley finding Lindley. Right now, Pat Spencer is just making this look too easy. He is toying with this Johns Hopkins defense.
And look at the fans on the far side. On their feet. They know they're witnessing something special. There was a wonderful article written this week in Baltimore in the Press Box Live by Glenn Clark, and talked about players in different sports who have played over the decades in Baltimore. And he was encouraging fans, if you get an opportunity, come out and watch Pat Spencer play up at Ridley off of Cold Spring Lane, because this is a guy, a generational talent.
Unreal.
Hopkins cut it to 9-6 going into halftime with a couple of late goals. Loyola has responded with a 4-0 run to begin the third. McNulty vacuums. Epstein Comes away with it for Hopkins. Now they'll wait for their offensive personnel. Kark, you have to caution yourself sometimes. How much do you make about what happens in February? But given the chaos that we've seen in college lacrosse, how should we react to some of these results, including what we're seeing today?
I think Hopkins is going to get a lot better. I do, because I think Joey Epstein will find a leadership role at X. He's got the ball behind right now. I know he's flanked by Cole Williams and Kyle Marr, but I think he's more of the X attackman. He'll grow up. They need some midfielders. Their strength is their defense. I think they're going to be better than their first 2 games. I expect Coach Petromalo to get this team better. Loyola, though, they have a superstar, a bona fide superstar in Pat Spencer, that he makes every single player around him better. I know that's cliche in sports, but just watch these guys off ball.
Big save that time by Darby.
It's the best stop that Ryan Darby has made thus far this season. His fifth of this ball game.
Big upset today. Villanova in overtime knocking off Yale, 2nd straight year. Nova has beaten Yale, the defending champion, so Loyola with a win today would likely be the #1 team in the country.
Ivy League typically starts later. In fact, they do.
February 1st.
Cornell doesn't actually play a game until next week. And so they're behind a week or so in terms of development. And Villanova having played a ball game or 2.
Spencer backing down Rapine. Probing.
Anyone who thought Yale was going to go undefeated, sorry, not happening.
Spencer on the doorstep to McGovern. And with that assist, Pat Spencer now 8th on the all-time list by himself.
This is like watching a pro player play against high school kids.
It's not fair.
I mean, every possession is complete dominance. He's spotting the defensive mistake and or weakness. Leans in, cross crease slide, that's fine. Colwell, 16, comes right across. There's no backside slide. I mean, how easy does it get for Spencer? He reads the defense, he knows how all the pieces fit, and he finds the open man.
And his head is always up. When he comes out of his roll, as he changes direction, he spins his body around. A lot of players, it takes maybe 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi to get your head up and react. It's all in one motion with Pat Spencer. That's why, from a passing standpoint, Quint, you talked about it earlier, Magic Johnson. Well, why is that a great comparison? Because he's playing a point guard quarterback type role, and he's bigger than everyone, and he passes better than everyone. And when you play him as a passer, he'll slice and dice you as a dodger.
So his stick protection is immaculate. Like, no one gets to his hands or has any impact on his hands.
He's a cheat code right now. Forey Smith had 14 goals as a freshman, only 2 last year, but did have 2 in the opener. Cole Williams, Johns Hopkins has to unlock 14 in white. Dave Petromalo told us one of the things that they need to do is be more physical with Williams in practice, because that's what he's going to see with his size during games. Epstein over to Marr, and a save by Stover, who saw it all the way. Long outlet to Middleton, the freshman long pole. Middleton with a bouncer. And Darby able to recover it.
A great stop by Darby.
Middleton is down, and the officials blow the whistle. Middleton down about 10 yards in front of the cage.
He took the shot, Anish, so you wonder if did he twist or did he take a hit after he shot. I love that outlet pass by Stover because he took an extra second in the pocket, basically, like a quarterback. You want to gun it right away, but he's really patient. He hit him in stride, and then Darby now has back-to-back quality stops for the sophomore. And good rebound control on that high rebound. Right side of your screen, 44 in green, shot, and then pays the price. A clean hit.
Yep.
That's smart contact by the Hopkins defender, because in that case, you can really unload on that shooter. He's vulnerable.
Hopkins a season ago started 1-2, and now another turnover. Then rattled off 7 straight, ended up winning the Big Ten championship.
That's a head shaker, Paul. You're right there on that kind of turnover. You can't clear up the box side.
No, it's way too congested there.
11 turnovers for the Blue Jays. A 9-goal loss to begin the season against Towson, and now Hopkins staring at an 8-goal deficit to another local rival. 56th meeting all-time between these two. Hopkins has dominated the series, but Loyola has won 4 of the last 5.
I mean, here's the deal. Loyola's only won twice in school history on Homewood Field. This senior class would improve to 3-1 with a win today and stamp themselves as the team of the city.
If you're wondering, the last time Hopkins began a season 0-2, 1971, the first year of NCAA Division I lacrosse. And the hits keep coming from Loyola. P.J. Brown. Hopkins down by 9.
Scanlon, Duffy, Brown now come to the party. If this midfield continues to emerge, we know the knowns. The attack of Spencer, Lindley, and Olmstead when he's healthy, as good as any in the nation. And now you put pieces, the proper pieces, the 6-on-6 offense, specifically outside shooters, deadly.
Seven different goal scorers for Loyola today. McNulty cleans the face-off. The Greyhounds will clear.
I like McNulty a lot, 55 in green. End to end, he's an 80-yard player.
Charlie Toomey says he is an All-American in the waiting. What a tandem they had a season ago with McNulty and Zach Davliakos. Hopkins catches a rare break. You start to feel the gravity of discontent on that Blue Jays sideline right now. Offensively, they've been searching for leadership. 14's been silent today. Cole Williams.
Who can beat their man? Draw a double team.
All right, Quinton is that guy on the roster. Williams swimming through the defense, tornadoing through trouble. Epstein will skip it back to DeSimone. And Loyola able to get set.
Some of Hopkins' better midfield dodgers are in their freshman class right now. A guy like Evan Zinn.
27 on the shot clock.
They're just not quite ready for a game of this magnitude yet. Jake Lilly, Evan Zinn.
Epstein over to Kincannon. Off the mark, 13 to shoot.
Quint, would you think about maybe moving a Cole Williams to midfield? Add some juice to that?
You might have to. You'd put Forey Smith down at attack. And
Joey Epstein has been a little bit of a spark for Hopkins. That is another goal for Epstein, his third of the day, his first hat trick as a collegiate player.
Impressive showing for the youngster. Coach Petramala raves about his work ethic. I love his change of direction. Remember earlier, he did that same move, planted with a hockey stop and came back for his right hand. That time they shade him saying, hey, you want to go lefty? It's there. Well, he takes it. Kid led landed to a 21-0 record as a senior playing for the legend Rob Boardley. As you said, Anish, he committed to play in August prior to his freshman year of high school. So he'd never taken a high school class. Yet he was committed verbal to come to Hopkins.
Here's Zen.
Yeah, look at it. See, does his stride just kind of stand out?
Yeah.
29 and white.
He flies, yeah. I think the game has to slow down from a cerebral standpoint for him, though, because in high school at Staples in Connecticut, it was give the ball to Evan Zen and run through guys and run by them. This is college lacrosse. The slides are quicker. The defenses have schemes that eliminate the initial dodges, so he's got to think 2 away now. And I think that's a process for a young midfielder, Quinn.
Yeah, I agree with you, but at 15-7, isn't this the time to get him some reps?
Kyle Marr with his 4th of the game. He's scored a goal in 16 straight. And it was Marr who brought Hopkins back toward the end of the first half. Right now, though, it's still a 7-goal lead for Loyola.
Paul, take the viewer, the young shooter, through Kyle's body language from the catch, the hop, and his ability to stay in rhythm.
Well, first, what he does is he finds the space, so he anticipates the pass. So he's making little steps and strides towards the ball carrier. Once he catches it, then he has time, and the defense doesn't react to a guy like Kyle Marr the way he should. He has time then to take an extra step, a little crow hop, and then plant his feet. And when he plants his feet, his hips are so aggressive that it gives serious velocity to that shot by Kyle Marr. But if you're playing against Kyle Marr, he's the type of guy, when he's adjacent to the ball, you almost have to anticipate and be on his hands right away. If he has his hands free and he gets an opportunity to take an extra step, turn and rake.
I love his footwork there, Paul. His toes are not pointing towards the goal; they're pointing towards the sideline. So his hips are in great alignment to catch and shoot seamlessly.
Duffy can't connect.
When you're a shooter, when you're a shooter, I tell kids this all the time: you don't want your foot to be straight out. You want it actually turned, because that automatically forces the torque in your hips.
So your front shoulder is pointed at the goal. Many times that puts your back to the sideline.
And that is going to be a violation. Hopkins had to get it over the midline in 20 seconds. Unable to do so. Those are part of the new rules that we'll see this year. 20 seconds to get it across the midline. Otherwise, it's a violation. And now we see Loyola go back to work on offense. And for Pat Spencer, this half field has been his canvas. He's painted a few masterpieces in his career. Got another one in the works in a rivalry game today. You see Spencer without the ball directing traffic. Alex McGovern, another goal. Loyola pouring it on. They have outscored Hopkins 7-2 in this third quarter.
McGovern, a veteran, a strong lefty. He can't go right on red. But what I like about this move is look at the strength in the two-handed cradle. Right there, leaning in, freeing up his left, getting to a dirty area of the field. Hopkins passive with that second double team man. McGovern doesn't go down, turn and rake.
McGovern can play some midfield and came to Loyola as an attackman. So now you have Scanlon and McGovern that can dodge short sticks. Brown and Duffy who can stretch the defense with outside rips.
And Kuhn with a big goal. The long pole wearing number 19. That's a number that's going to mean a lot for this Hopkins program going forward. Robert Kuhn, an All-American a season ago, wearing the number that was worn by the late Jeremy Huber. Huber passed away 4 years ago due to complications from pneumonia before he ever played a game. And Dave Petromala told his parents, Bob and Nancy, that Jeremy would still have a place on the roster. In the last 4 years, Huber's name was listed on the Hopkins official roster. Number 19 was never reissued. After the season, they wanted to find a way to honor Jeremy's memory, so the senior class came together and said, who best represents the values that Huber brought to the table? And they all felt unanimously that it was Robert Kuhn, and he's wearing number 19, and Kuhn's a senior. When he graduates, that number will be handed down, and it's going to mean a lot for the Blue Jay program going forward.
Bob and Nancy and Justin, their son, You know, watching so many of these games.
Flag down, 16-9, Loyola on top.
Clark, I like Robert Kuhn, too, as a player. I think he's a good cover guy. I think he's great in transition, being a former high school midfielder.
Oh, for sure. We've seen him make plays in between the restraining boxes quite a bit. And they have a seasoned defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the parts are better than they're playing right now. You know, Foley's a good player. Kuhn's a good player. Daniel Jones is okay. I think, you know, Matt Hubler has gotten better this year, 9. Their other shorty. Like, Colwell and Rapine have a lot of experience, but you put them all together, they're not playing to the level they should yet.
2 things I think need to happen. Darby's got to grow up fast in the cage, and they need some midfield dodgers. I think the rest of the team can compete and get some W's. And this is a tough Big Ten conference they play in. And you know the out-of-conference schedule, Hopkins.
It's brutal
always
this year.
The best. Yeah.
Because Princeton's good.
Yep.
Syracuse will be desperate. Virginia's talented. Tanisha's favorite team.
I'm bullish on Virginia. I know they lost. The opener to Loyola did not look good. Questions defensively. Hopkins with the man up, just turns it over.
Cavs played a more physical style of defense last night in the win against Lehigh at home. I think Lars made the point in his post-game presser that, you know, Pat Spencer's jersey was clean after that game last week. Another play on turf, but you're playing Spencer. You got to make him eat pellets. I mean, somewhere along the line, he's got to taste his own blood.
Epstein. Pass batted down. Lucas Jackson, 30 in green, the senior, plays man down. Schilling to Forey Smith. Smith, and a save by Stover, the Loyola bench.
Wow, what a mistake that is. The Hopkins bench is yelling, hold it, hold it, hold it. You take an outside shot. Stover possesses, and so it should be Loyola ball to start the 4th.
16-9, Loyola off to a roaring start. Loyola head coach Charlie Toomey told us this week that the win last week against Virginia, 17-9 was the score. He said that he feels is going to be a significant win, but he said if you don't back it up, you lose that feather in your cap right away. That was his message to the team after last week. We posed the question to Dave Petramala, how much do you make of a 9-goal loss to Towson? And he says, you can underreact or you can overreact in February. He said, we didn't do either. After that Towson game, Hopkins came back to campus. They watched the film together after the game, trying to figure out why did this happen. He called it a sobering film session, but said they put it away. They haven't talked about it since. Well, barring a huge comeback, it might be another one of those nights for Johns Hopkins tonight. After this game, how do the Blue Jays pick up the pieces from already one blowout loss to begin the season and potentially a second?
You keep moving forward is what you do. And you just take it one day at a time.
Epstein, that one it looked like it hit Stover, the outlet to McNulty. McNulty in Baltimore.
So you go back after this and you win Sunday, okay, by taking care of yourself. If you didn't play much, maybe you go out and work out and do some extra shooting. Then you have a great session on Monday. Just take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. One drill at a time.
Blue
Coach
Jays.
Petramala, and he's telling me before the game that, you know, now with this, and Clark, I want you to chime in here, now with all this club lacrosse, kids play a ton of lacrosse, but they're playing games. And he said he has seen a difference in practice where some of these youngsters who are so talented, they've never had a high-level 2-hour competitive practice.
Darby the save on the shot by Duffy.
You know, you're right, Quinn. You know, they play probably, a kid can play 60, 70 games in a year playing club lacrosse. Where in the past, when you were growing up, when I was growing up, you played a 20-game high school schedule, and that was the wrap. The rest was your training.
Ball on the doorstep, denied.
Great stop by Stover.
Stover's got 10 saves, double-digit saves for Stover in both games this season.
That was a nice pass inside to Marr. I'm not sure who made it. It was zippy.
But guys, I'll tell you what, sitting in between both benches, the one thing you can't say about Hopkins is they haven't played hard. These guys are hustling, they're getting after it, fighting for ground balls.
Yeah, they're playing hard. They will improve. The problem is their schedule's pretty tough, and all of a sudden you got to get to 500 to be NCAA tournament eligible. I know that's way down the road. The Big Ten's good this year. There's no easy outs anymore, like none. Michigan, top 20 team. Ohio State, good. Rutgers, potential championship caliber team. Who lost today?
At work, turnover. Hubler accelerates into the box. Steps on the brakes.
Andy Shea said it best last year, Anish. The race to improve. That's the real game.
Andy Shea's Yale Bulldogs, the defending champions, losing today to Villanova. So a Loyola win would likely mean the Greyhounds would be the #1 team in the country come Monday.
Not Penn State?
I'd put Loyola over. You beat, again, two teams handily. If this score holds up, that began the season in the top 10, that's impressive.
Got the Spencer factor too, right? It's real. You got the best player in the country.
I've just seen more, and I know the prologue, the past, shouldn't matter. Every season is in a vacuum. Penn State's never won an NCAA tournament game. You almost need to see them on the big stage. We've seen Loyola in big games, played well in the quarterfinal loss to Yale last year. Stover was out of his mind, and they were in championship weekend. Spencer's freshman year, you've got the best player in the country. I like the pieces Penn State has, Kark. I think they've got a chance to crash that semifinal party this year, but Loyola to me is more of a sure thing. And it's because of guys like Chase Scanlon, the freshman, having a breakout game here at Homewood.
Chase Scanlon. You know, when we spoke to Charlie Toomey about Chase Scanlon, he didn't think he'd be sneaking up on too many teams moving forward. This is becoming his spot to dodge. We've seen a few goals this season from the same spot. We're watching tape against Virginia. He likes to go on the low wing, above goal line extended, for a freshman midfielder to start his career against Virginia and Hopkins and have 6 goals. I mean, Quint, this kid is really, really smooth, and he plays with a calming presence, too. You don't feel like he's rushing, right?
No, he jogs around like kind of la-di-da, and then he's got this hesitation move we've seen, right? And he seems one-handed, but no one can stop him. And all of a sudden, he's by people somehow.
When Olmsted comes back, if you're a defense, what do? Spencer, Olmsted, Lindley on attack. Duffy and Scanlon headlining the midfield. Who do you put a short stick on?
You win faceoffs.
You didn't answer my question. Hopkins needs more from 14. I think we've said that a few times.
You pull Scanlon, I think, because he's the dodger. I think Duffy and Brown are more outside shooters.
Yeah, Duffy can split dodge,
yeah,
especially right to left.
And Lindley, who, you would think, okay, maybe he could put a short stick. We saw it last year.
Not this year.
He had 3 unassisted goals against Virginia.
You can't do that.
I think when you get cute and you short stick attackman, unless the guy's a total dog and you can't dodge at all, you're asking for it.
You are. Flag coming against Loyola. Hopkins will go man up. 9:43 to go in the fourth quarter.
So Loyola effectively playing this game without 2 starters today. Matt Higgins, their best short stick defensive midfielder, and starting attackman Aiden Olmsted. The Monday practice that I watched, you see that man right there, Charlie Toomey. Kark, I tell you, he was bringing it. You could tell it was game week because Charlie is a fighter, and there was no relaxing during practice. I mean, I wish our fans could come out and watch these teams. Like you watch Yale practice, I was at the Loyola practice. Man, it's something else. It's fantastic intensity.
Catoni gave it up on the doorstep. Epstein, good look for Schilling, saved by Stover.
He likes it. Stover likes it.
Stover, man, he's bringing it. Quint, you've worked with Stover. Tell us his strengths.
He's a confident kid, okay? But he puts in the work, and this means an awful lot to him. And he's very invested in the process. He's big. He's gotten quicker with age. He's gotten lighter on his feet with age. You know, his dad was Matt Stover, and I think he saw that lifestyle. You know, your dad's an NFL kicker. Like when he performs, everything matters, and so everything matters for Jake. Every time we shoot on him, it matters. He was competitive. I used to try to play games with him where we set up 2 goals 10 yards apart and fire on each other. And
how'd that go?
He never beat me. And
what?
And
all right, okay, I don't believe.
No, you ask him after the game. And that annoyed me. Finally, I said, Jake, one of these times you got to beat me. I'm old, I'm slow, but I'm just a little hungrier than you. You know, I don't like losing. Like, you can't like losing.
Right.
So stop losing. But relentless worker, man. I was sore, tired. We'd be out there for hours at a time. You'd have to drag him off the field.
And look at Spencer changing hands with his stick. Had a good feed to Brown, who just couldn't catch it.
And then one day he brought out his friend, this guy named Pat Spencer.
How'd that work out?
I couldn't tell if he was righty or lefty. And his passes to me were the hardest passes that I had caught since playing pro lacrosse.
No kidding.
Hitting me in the stick like, whoa.
Pat Spencer.
How was he not invited for a Team USA tryout last year?
He was. Was
that his decision, or was that?
Now listen, he's one of the best players in the world. There's no question.
Yeah.
5'4" as a high school freshman. Played junior varsity in 10th grade.
He would have fit on Team USA in Netanya last summer.
Lindley fell down. Scanlon, who was on the Iroquois national team in Netanya, Israel. Scott Marr, the head coach for the Iroquois team, said this kid's going to be good at Loyola. Get to play with Pat Spencer.
What an experience, though, to spend the 2 weeks.
Scanlon looking for his 5th.
Just to see how a guy like Lyle Thompson approaches the game, how he recovers, how he deals with fans, the whole lifestyle thing.
Marr skip pass, another turnover by the Blue Jays. Q. Loyola with a 17-9 win against Virginia. Up 17-9 on Hopkins. On the road for Rutgers and Towson.
Yeah.
If they get through this 3-game road stretch, they're going to be heavy favorites in the Patriot League. I think Lehigh might have a chance to push them a little bit.
We got them at Duke on Thursday, March 7th.
You got Duke too. I don't want to forget the Duke game. That's another road game. If they get through their non-conference with 1 loss and it's to a Rutgers or Towson or a Duke, I think you've got a team here that's got a chance to be a top 2 seed come May.
I agree, although I will say the Patriot League, Paul, I think the Patriot League is good this year. Army today beating Rutgers.
Yeah, it's a big one for Army. You're right.
Colgate, Matt Carwick,
Colgate beating Syracuse.
Beat Cuse. Yeah.
Bucknell's always tough to prepare for with their 10-man ride and their aggressive double-teaming defense.
Navy looks good. Navy looks really good.
Ryan Wade, Grayson Terrain. Navy beating UMBC last night in Annapolis. Navy's better this year.
Yeah.
And they beat Vermont too, who we thought could challenge Albany in the America East.
The Patriot League is definitely improved.
But nobody in that league has Pat Spencer.
Nobody in America has Pat Spencer, Anish.
Yeah. Marr shooting way too high. Less than 6 minutes to go. Loyola likely staring at a #1 ranking come Monday.
It's a nice look from Keogh. This has got to be a time where Coach Petramauer goes a little deeper on his bench. You know, I know you're struggling.
Marr lays it back. Epstein to Marr.
No
5 goals now for Kyle Marr.
And no doubt, and he said he can paint corners. Earlier, We saw a low rip, a worm burner. Then he pegged the corner, and this time he yanks it near side low. Nothing Stover could do.
Pat Spencer has done it again, a 7-point afternoon hum-ho for the preseason Tewaaraton favorite.
Tell you, you think about a guy who's in control, super comfortable with what's going on defensively, able to read and react, behind the back pass, skips it through the D to his mate on the far side of the field, ankle breaking and then converting, using the body, the eyes, the stick work, putting it all together. Best player in the country, putting up gigantic numbers against quality teams.
Charlie Toomey told us he will never coach a player like Pat Spencer again. He put number 7 in that Lyle Thompson, Mike Powell tier. Mark Van Arsdale telling us last year that he's Steele Stanwyck with Kyle Harrison's athletic ability.
Spencer's kind of a homebody. You know, he likes to spend time down in Davidsonville, Maryland with his family. He's a family guy. Spends a lot of times with his brothers. He's got a younger brother. As you look at the Loyola upcoming schedule, it's tough. Last night, as I said, he was a volunteer assistant coach of his younger brother's high school basketball team.
Right.
Spending that extra time. Cam Spencer apparently put on a show last night. And he's be playing at Loyola basketball next year.
Watches endless amounts of hoops. Watches NBA, college hoops, and Anish, you mentioned earlier he wants to make a run in his 5th year at college basketball. It's been his dream and a bucket list type thing for him ever since he had to stop playing competitive basketball. I mean, he spends his summer down in Annapolis playing pickup in competitive leagues, right, Quint?
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he could contribute at Loyola next year. Perhaps he wants to take a shot at something even bigger.
We asked Charlie Toomey, does that concern you, Pat Spencer playing basketball in his off time? And he laughed. He said, if I worried about that, I wouldn't sleep.
He dunked on you, right, Clark?
Yeah, he did this fall, he did a between-the-leg dunk right on top of me.
Cole Williams finds the back of the net, a 35-goal scorer a season ago, his first point of the afternoon.
That's nice. That's good offense, Clark. I love the way you see Forey Smith come down and set a screen, and Williams runs hard off the shoulder. Here it is. Watch him, left hand, right there.
Yep.
Causes the separation, hands are free. Good change of levels in the shot. That's excellent offense.
You know, with Epstein and Marr at attack, I mentioned earlier, as we see a profile on Cole Williams, the bottom won't let Clark cut his hair. We'll see about that next year. You promised me, young man. But what I'm trying to get at here, Quint, is you have Epstein and you have Marr, two kind of strong components at attack. Your midfield right now is kind of struggling. If you put Cole Williams at midfield, it could open up some dodging opportunities for the guys like DeSimone and Kincannon, and then they get some confidence. I think Cole Williams could play some midfield.
This is a staff, Bobby Benson, the offensive coordinator. Dave Petramala has won championships as a player and a coach. Bill DeWan, they've won a lot of games. They're going to take these results. You got to have faith, Quint, that they're going to make the necessary adjustments to get Hopkins back on track, because they were able to do so just last year. A 1-2 start in 2018, and then the Blue Jays rattled off 7 straight wins, ended up winning the Big Ten tournament.
Don't ever sleep on Petramala. He's one of the fiercest competitors the sport has ever seen.
He's going to maximize the parts on his bench, put him in the right spots.
All right, I got one for you, Quint. You played behind Petro.
Yeah.
If you could get late 80s Petro against modern day Pat Spencer, who wins that matchup one-on-one?
Petro wins that matchup.
Petro wins the matchup against anyone. He won the matchup against Gary Gait, the greatest offensive player of all time. Petramala is the best defender that's ever walked the face of the earth in lacrosse.
And that's not to say that Spencer wouldn't have a nice day, because David never loved playing righties.
He'd have some war wounds, though, after it.
And the game was played a little differently, too, because if Mr. Spencer did inside roll Petramala, I got a bunch of other goons who were there to take Mr. Spencer out. And as I said earlier, he would be tasting his own blood at the end of the game. That for sure,
that's
I know.
A fact.
Okay? That's how we used to play, Nish.
I drink your milkshake, right? Final 3 minutes to go. Loyola impressive once again. Greyhounds looking at a #1 ranking come Monday. Johns Hopkins staring at its first 0-2 start since 1971. That was the first year of NCAA Division I lacrosse. Saved by Darby on a shot by Scanlon. Greyhounds have not had a lot of success at Homewood over the years, but this rivalry has turned on its axis the last 5 years, Q.
This is a win that carries a lot of weight in Charm City. That is Baltimore. And this Loyola senior class now will improve to 3-1 against Hopkins. This will only be the third time a Greyhound team has made the journey. These two schools are only separated by about a mile or two. Only third win here. Dave Connell did it back in 1999. And I think the Loyola won in 13 here, I believe.
Q, Hop's always going to be the hunted because of the tradition, the history, what Homewood means. You played here. When a team like Towson, when a Loyola beats a Hopkins, what does it mean for those programs?
It's a big step. I mean,
even if Hopkins is down,
it's a big, Towson now. Bunch of wins over the Blue Jays.
When you beat Notre Dame in football, we talk about Spencer too, and we talked about the Petramala matchup. I'll tell you what, though, Quint, we've seen some great players over the years, the Lyle Thompsons, the Jordan Wolfs, and the Mikey Powells. From a pro lacrosse standpoint and just understanding the game, he might be like the highest rated guy in a long, long time.
I agree, Paul. If he were on a PLL or MLL team, let's say this summer, my guess is he'd be an all-star.
I agree.
Like, he'd be a pro all-star. And he's competing against collegiate kids for the next 3 months, which is going to be awful fun to watch.
Watching Spencer today, it feels like a mighty Jupiter against these little Mercuries trying to nip and tuck, and he wants to remind everybody, no, I'm the guy. You can't stop me. He's entertained us. 14 points in his first 2 games. Quint, Kark, and I have that Loyola Duke game on the 7th of March. It's another opportunity to see, as you said, a generational talent.
Today he was playing against Patrick Foley, who's one of the top 10 defenders in the country. That Duke game, he's going to be going against JT Giles Harris or Cade Van Raphorst. Again, elite defenders. That's how good this guy is. He's making really talented defenders look just pedestrian. In that game, that Loyola-Duke rivalry has really favored Duke in recent years, mostly because of their midfield athleticism. I think a year ago they got 5 goals from the midfield, guys like Brad Smith. And who's that shooter they had last year, Kark, the Georgetown transfer? Was it Conley?
Peter Conley.
Yeah.
Peter Conley had a big game last year. It's Duke won in Baltimore, so that'll be a great show down in Durham.
Yale, the #1 team in the country, lost to Villanova today. Maryland squeaked past Penn. Loyola with a win would have a chance to move up to #1. You guys mentioned Penn State potentially having a case as well.
Kark, who's your penny stock? Is it High Point? Marquette?
Marquette, I think Joe Amplo is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. He's got these guys, as we see another one. They're piling on, guys.
They've scored 35 goals in 2 games. Hopkins has given up 35 in 2 games.
It's Duffy. He's got good speed. Trail check, it's coming.
3 goals for Duffy.
Quint, you were mentioning that change of direction by Duffy. There it was. We saw the outside shot today.
I'm so happy for a kid like John Duffy because when I met him, I think he was a sophomore in high school. He had very few offers. He reminded me a little bit of a Ned Crotty when his high school body was much thinner, and he was able to play off ball as a midfielder.
Yeah.
And so I got on the phone when I came back from Oregon, and I called, honestly, Billy Dwan. And I believe Hopkins didn't have any spots, but Billy's related to Matt Dwan, and it ended up pretty well for Mr. Duffy.
They find those guys at Loyola.
13 states now on this roster.
Final 30-plus seconds of this ball game. A tour de force by Spencer and Loyola. Hopkins cashing one in late. It's 18-12. That's just bookkeeping.
Tell you, this is the kind of goal, Anish, that would tick me off. And you see Stover shaking his head.
Come on, guys.
He's like, oh, the middies. It's always the middies. But that goes against your goals against average. And, it was just a lapse late in the game. And at that stage, I'd probably be like, man, why am I still in here anyway? Are we going to play any defense? You expect me to save that? And so that's the kind of goal that ticked me off more than anything.
Your teammates loved you too, right?
I'd bark at him, and then you'd have to apologize after the game,
It's kind of the same dynamic up here.
Sorry I yelled at you for not trying.
It's okay.
I didn't mean it. I got a little caught up.
Now we got flags now in the last 20 seconds. Delaying the inevitable.
The Greyhounds will celebrate this, and their fans have started to file out and up Cold Spring Lane. They have developed the best student section in college lacrosse. At their games at Ridley are super fun, energetic. I was at that game last week. Their fans were engaging. I don't want to say heckling me, but they were like, they're into it, man. They are. That's a great fan base.
Well, for those listening and watching, we encourage the heckling of Quint.
And now they come to their feet. Resounding victory.
Patrick Spencer, 3 goals, 4 assists, 14 points in the first 2 games. Loyola, after an 8-goal win against Virginia, takes down Johns Hopkins by 6. The Greyhounds should be #1 in the country come Monday.